How crypto giant Circle could create a US-backed digital currency. Crypto giant Circle has announced its intention to become a bank, fully regulated by the Federal Reserve, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the FDIC. Why it matters, we're still a very long way from this happening, but if it does, Circle's USDC stablecoin could become a de facto central bank digital currency. How it works, central bank or Circle's dream is to become a narrow bank, one that eschews fractional reserve banking entirely and instead places all deposits on reserve at the central bank. Only banks can open accounts directly at the central banks, which credits them with pure money. In Circle's case, the depositors would be holders of USDC, and the collateral backing up USDC would be the money on deposit at the Fed. Circle would protect or pocket for itself the interest that the Fed pays on bank reserve. The big picture is if the dream were to become reality, then Circle would effectively be issuing a cryptocurrency backed by the Fed itself, for all intents and purposes, a central bank digital currency or CBDC. If Circle were allowed to do such a thing, then presumably other banks would be too, and they would rapidly start competing with each other to pass through most of all of the interest that the Fed pays on reserves. Buying those stablecoins would be tantamount to having money on deposit directly at the Fed. Between the lines, a would-be bank called TNB has tried to do narrow banking in the US and has gotten nowhere. The Fed doesn't like the idea for reasons well glossed by the Bloomberg's Matt Levine in 2019. Fractional reserve banking is the engine that powers money creation and even modern capitalism. Full reserve banking risks messing with that model in a way that could prove dangerous. Be smart. Circle Chief Strategy Officer Dante Disparte tells Axios that the company hasn't yet even properly initiated the process of applying to become a bank. It's just announced its intention to do so. Disparte says they're willing to do whatever the policymakers want. That might even mean giving up on the dream of having 100% of its assets in the form of Fed reserves, even though that's something all other banks are allowed to do. The bottom line, most assets at most banks are loans that can, in theory, default. That's also true of Circle's assets right now. They're mostly commercial paper and other low risk loans. Moving to a no-risk system would create a backdoor CBDC. It seems unlikely the Fed would let that happen without being extremely deliberate about it. So a little preview into the pros and cons of having a stablecoin like USDC becoming a central bank digital currency, which is still in the cards and a possibility, but also just a reminder of how early this really is and not letting the hype get ahead of the reality. Like Circle just said, they've just announced their intention to do so. Doesn't mean that it's just going to be straight from here. They're going to become a national bank by the end of the year. This could be, something that we look forward to, continue following and going into next year, and then seeing where we're at this point next year and where Circle is at on its way to maybe trying to become a national type of crypto bank, which would just be unbelievable, and maybe its connections to the Feds increasing more and more. But it definitely looks like, with Circle's intention to IPO and working with regulators, they're setting themselves up for success. But still very early days for Circle and the USDC token. But I'm very excited for the cryptos that are already involved and connected to this, the highest US dollar pegged stable currency. And I think you're going to continue to see more and more volume flowing through the USDC because of the major connections to some major players in this crypto space like Ethereum, Solana, XLM, Tezos, HBAR, even Tron, if you will, Algorand. So really good basket right there. And I think Kava is also part of it as well. So looking forward to the future here. But once again, a little bit of the hype ahead of the reality and just coming right back down to earth. They've listed their intention to become a crypto national bank. We'll see if they do so in the future, and we'll definitely be keeping up with this development without a doubt.